Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier, and thank you as always for stopping by. I'm grateful. We had a super Mindspeak actually over the weekend with Jeremy Awori of Barclays, Kenya. He's the Chief Executive Officer, and we've edited the presentation. So if you go to take a look, it's on YouTube. It's the first link on Rich Wrap-Ups and the link on the front page as well. And also we've uploaded the hard copy, the soft copy of the presentation. Very, very good. VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity were his buzzwords. And ambiguity takes me back to Don DeLillo. And if you haven't read him, you must. Macro thoughts, and quite pleased that I chose this at the beginning of the year. Bitcoin soars to fresh high on strong demand from Japan, where the cryptocurrency has been deemed legal means of payment. This was fantastic. Bonita on safari, 20 photos that will inspire you to visit Mount Kenya. Summiting Mount Kenya was one of the items in my 2017 travel bucket list. I knew I was going to tick it off my list, but had no idea how and when exactly. And there are 3 photographs that I liked, and I'll put them up and you can take a look. I've never been up there. My daughters, however, have. And I think Hannah's due to go next year as well. And this is the beautiful sunset of the Mara Savannah Plains taken by the Fairmont Mara. And you will recall we had a fantastic time there. It's just outside the national park, but it's got more stuff in there. And there's nobody else. When you see something, as opposed to the Masai Mara itself, which is full of people. I once met Richard Branson there looking at some lions. All I kept thinking about over and over was you can't live forever. You can't live forever. Great Gatsby. My father's not been well. Age has been top of mind. Gatsby believed in the green light, in the orgiastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms further, and one fine morning. I think that's so powerful, isn't it? Actually, it's my favorite. There must have been moments even that afternoon when Daisy tumbled short of his dreams, not through her own fault, but because of the colossal vitality of the illusion. It had gone beyond her, beyond everything. He had thrown himself into it with a creative passion, adding to it all the time, decking it out with every bright feather that drifted his way. No amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man will store up in his ghostly heart. But my favorite is Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgiastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms further in one fine morning. Think about that. Analysis, Mayday, Mayday. It's a photograph of President Zuma. Look, I think my feelings on President Zuma are pretty clear. But he is not going anywhere soon, I'm afraid. He's got a lock on all these MPs. That means a very messy and noisy situation, and therefore that's very bearish for the rand. And counterintuitively, if you do believe that they've been trying to get the keys to the treasury for eternity and to get that contract signed off with the Russians, because there's obviously a fat load of profit and gravy all around it, then you've got to be even more concerned, because you would have thought if he thinks he's going soon or at some point, he's got to kick a lot of stuff over the line. Here's a photograph from Venezuela TV Canal 8 of Nicolas Maduro. Took me back to Hunter S. Thompson, The Edge. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who've gone over. Hunter S. Thompson. August 2015, and we're now in 2017. The this is what I wrote then, and I think it applies now, given what I'm seeing in the oil markets. The end is nigh for crude oil and oil producers from Caracas to Luanda, from Riyadh to Abuja, who were squealing like pigs and are about to be served up as rashes. Oil-based economies are going to contract, currencies which have already collapsed are going to be routed, and Greek-style austerity will be the order of the day. I said then that the meltdown is coming. Richard Kapuscinski said, if the crowd disperses, goes home, does not reassemble, we say the revolution is over. I said the revolution is only just beginning. A couple of photographs, one from Caracas, Venezuela by Horacio Siciliano, another of an opposition activist catching fire as he fails to throw a Molotov cocktail during a march against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. That was from AFP. The Saudi prince, deputy crown prince, who's essentially the Dauphin, said, how can I communicate with them while they prepare for the arrival of Al-Mahdi al-Muntazar? This is a granular point about Islam, but my conclusions are, if you're thinking in that manner, which clearly they are, the Saudi monarchy is indeed fiddly whilst it all burns. We're just one big slump in the oil price away from a debacle. He says, the Saudi prince, that Iran wants to control the Muslim world. How can I converse with Iran? Prince Mohammed 31 said in an interview with Saudi-owned NBC television, which will be aired in full on Tuesday night. He said Iran is preparing the ground for the arrival of the Mahdi, a prophesied Shiite savior, and wants to control the Muslim world, the world's biggest oil exporter, in Iran on the opposing sides of major Middle East crises, including the conflicts in Syria and Iraq. The kingdom is bogged down in a 2-year war in Yemen, where it's been trying to restore the rule of an internationally recognized government against Shiite rebels aligned with Iran. The problem with Saudi Arabia is that it's seeking to create tensions, said Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, whose country has criticized the kingdom's military offensive in Yemen. We are not after conflicts with Saudi Arabia, so you've got proxy wars all over the place. Saudi Arabia in particular, I think it's like a Gulliver and Lilliput story. They're getting bogged down at a time when they haven't got the bandwidth, and they've got to deal with a major debacle that's on their hands in the oil price. US anti-missile system operating from a golf course in South Korea. NBC News, United CEO to testify in front of Congress during a hearing on oversight of US airline customer service. That goes back to that doctor who was manhandled. I mean, can you believe that? Congress allocates $120 million for Trump's family's security costs. Not cheap, is it, to run? Trump's turn toward China curtails Navy patrols in disputed zones. 6 weeks ago, the United States Pacific Command requested permission from senior American officials for a United States warship to sail within 12 nautical miles of Scarborough Shoal, a disputed reef in the South China Sea that is claimed by the Philippines and by China. The Navy had good reason to think the request would be granted. During last year's campaign, Donald J. Trump labeled President Obama as weak in defending international waters in the South China Sea, where Beijing has started a sharp military build-up to reclaim land, install runways, and haul equipment onto reefs and shoals, claims as its own. Tillerson, during his confirmation hearing in January, you'll remember, called for China to be denied access to the artificial islands, and foreign policy experts and Asia watchers braced for a return to routine Navy patrols within China's self-proclaimed territorial waters, something Mr. Obama allowed sparingly. Instead, the Pacific Command request and 2 others by the Navy in February was turned down by top Pentagon officials. Somebody said, I hope this doesn't give the Chinese the impression that this is a tacit acknowledgement of Beijing's outrageous claims of sovereignty over international waters, he said, and I ask, is the pivot dead? Trump and Putin agree to seek a Syrian ceasefire. The pivot to Putin finally. Unite undecided voters and shy Front National supporters could win the French election for Marine Le Pen. Macron commands an impressive 20-point lead ahead of his rival in most polls. Yet there are growing suggestions that in the secrecy of the polling booth, quiet sympathizers for Marine Le Pen could have a big impact on the result. It will definitely be a swing in her favor. Let's go on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 109.18, dollar index 99, Japanese yen 112.13, Swissy 0.9913, the pound 129.27. Australian dollar's been having a poor session, whereas that 0.7487. India rupee 64.135, South Korean 111.26, 28.67. Behaved astonishingly well, hasn't it, with all that tension. Brazilian real 315.16, Egyptian pound 18.12.10, and the South African rand was last at 13.37. Dollar index, let me put up a chart here, and the key price level is 99.50. As long as we're below it, it's bearish. As pop above it, then we get more bullish. It's quite binary. Euro dollar, let's take a look at that, 109.18. I think you buy this on dips, because I think the data flow we're seeing is stronger. I think they're given it doses and doses of QE, and the recovery is there to be seen. U.S. Treasury yields, take a look at this. We saw quite a big rally as yields came lower, and it's not clear which direction things will go. At the moment, Apple sells fewer iPhones in the last quarter, share slide, highlighting the need to deliver blockbuster new features, the next edition of the flagship device of the company is to fend off rivals like Samsung Electronics. They've basically got a major iPhone revamp due later this year, so you can imagine people have put off purchases waiting for that revamp. I would have thought Apple sold 50.8 million iPhones in the quarter, ended April 1, down from 51.2 million units in the same period a year earlier. We're seeing what we believe to be a pause in purchases of iPhone, which we believe are due to the earlier and much more frequent reports about future iPhones. Apple's stock slipped 2% in extended trading. The shares had already jumped 27% this year and closed at a record Tuesday. I think you buy this on dips as well. Take a look at this chart of Apple versus the NASDAQ and see the outperformance. Bitcoin closing in on $1,500. This is from Holger. As I said at the end of last year, 30th of December to be exact, optimal portfolio at this moment looks like this. Long Bitcoin, 1. 2, long Bitcoin, short gold. Take a look at this one-year chart of gold, last trading at 12.54. We've slipped off. It looks as if we're threatening a break up to 13.50. Everyone got excited, come back down again. Oil continues to drop. Dropped its last trading WTI at $48.01. I think if we get to 47, which looks imminent, then I think we can drop to 40 quite quickly. WTI for June delivery fell sharply yesterday, and trading was above the daily 100-day moving average. Cattle futures and beef prices soar after a blizzard clobbers the Midwest. Indian property stocks have outperformed the broader market by 4 times. Gets crazier if you consider India is Asia's best performer year to date. Narendra Modi's magic. Look at this photograph. Key figures from rival Libyan camps meet in Abu Dhabi. This is this fellow Haftar who's got this crazy hat. But more importantly, and I referred to it in that article yesterday, you're seeing an enormous extension of UAE hard power predominantly. South African central bank sees high risk for more downgrades. South Africa faces a high risk and probability of further downgrades to its credit ratings, which may weaken the currency and lead to higher borrowing costs, the central bank said. Having been cut to junk by both S&P and Fitch this year, the country may suffer more of the same as a result of weak economic growth. Political developments, liabilities linked to struggling state-owned companies, big problem there. Slow progress in structural reforms. South African Reserve Bank said in its Financial Stability Review published in Pretoria on Tuesday. Further downgrades on the local currency rating could trigger high levels of selling off of bonds by foreign investors, which could also result in marked currency depreciation. South Africa was excluded from one global bond index last month and will be removed from 3 more this month, the central bank said. The thought of being excluded from more indices is disconcerting given the country's dependency on portfolio inflows to finance its current account deficit, among other things. South African all shares up 6.44% this year. Dollar versus rand, I'm expecting a sharp rand slide. Why? Because I feel it's in the air. Egyptian pound, 18.1210. Nigeria may lift foreign currency restrictions on 41 imports. This is being received well. The West African nation government consider policy-driven restrictions to promote the local manufacturing of 41 items such as rice and toothpicks. This is a good development for particularly small manufacturing companies. A number of them have been complaining that the supply of some of the items locally is small. Some do not have local supply. Nigerian all shares down 3.38% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index up 12.24% this year. Barclays, to mitigate this Jeremy worry, we need to adopt our business models. We don't know what the future holds with regard to this law. This year marks the first full 12 months under the law that caps interest rates at 4 percentage points above the Central Bank of Kenya signal rate. Kenya shilling 103, the figure trading. Nairobi all share was up 0.54%. It's up 0.49% year to date. Ever Ready rallied an astonishing 52.83% yesterday. Take a look at the link, that's on the special dividend. And finally, if you need to check into any share, just click on the link at the bottom of the page and off you go. Once again, thank you kindly for stopping by.